We're recording?
Meeting, please come to order. Yvette, please call the roll.
We have Commissioners Levine, Thunderberg, Farad, Noonan, and Vasquez present.
This proceeding is broadcast on Channel 35. The exact broadcast times can be found by contacting Channel 35. My opening remarks are Happy New Year and welcome back. I'm told we have 4 public comment cards, so Yvette, please call them.
First speaker will be Jacqueline Lawson, and after that, Kara Onafray.
Good morning. My name is Deputy City Attorney Jacqueline Lawson, and my current assignment at the City Attorney's Office is to the Neighborhood School Safety Program. As such, my area, and perhaps my counter, there are 3 people speaking on the same subject. Perhaps they could all join me. Cara and Ms. Sanders-Gordon.
Great.
My jurisdiction, I cover the northern half of the city, or better defined as LAPD, Valley, and West Bureau. I am assigned only to LAUSD schools, and since I began this assignment in April of 2016, through the outdoor area lighting program, 66 schools have been lit up throughout the city. And at every school site, we've noticed an immediate reduction in crime. The neighborhood, it transforms the neighborhood, and the public perception of LEDWP, who gets all the credit, we make sure that everybody knows that this is through the generosity of the LEDWP that these schools are being lit up, cannot be more receptive to the program. And I have, I'll let my counterparts, this is my counterpart, Cherie Sanders-Gordon.
Again, my name is Cherie Sanders-Gordon. I'm a Deputy City Attorney, and I am the Neighborhood School Safety Prosecutor for South Bureau and for Central Bureau. And we just started with the schools in South Bureau, and already we have seen a dramatic improvement in the safety and just the well-being. The parents love it. We are getting, actually, because of the school, we started at Baldwin Hills Elementary School, and immediately other schools started contacting me. So now, and it spread all the way to Southeast. So we already have 10 schools who are asking us to come and bring the program to those schools. And we are seeing an immediate reduction in crime when we in the areas, and it's transformative. The parents are over the moon. Just in Baldwin Hills alone, Hillcrest is another school that we have started with. And I can't tell you how popular the program has begun, and we just started in South Bureau last fall. So I'm hoping that we will be able to continue with the program. We want to continue to work with as many schools as possible, and that's the reason why I came this morning, just to support the program.
Well, thank you. Thank you for being here.
Good morning. Happy New Year. My name is Cara Onafray. I'm the Director of Community Engagement and Advocacy for School Board Member Kelly Gonez. I'm here on behalf of Board Member Gonez. She's in a board meeting right now. And I'm just here to express gratitude and support on behalf of the school board member for this wonderful program. I'm currently Board District 6, the area that we have the pleasure of serving, is in the Northeast San Fernando Valley. And currently through this partnership and the generosity of the LEDWP, we've had 38 of our schools reap the benefits of your generosity and have the exterior and the perimeter of their campuses lit up. The parents have been really appreciative of this effort, and so have the staff. It comes at no cost to the schools, and parents are really appreciative of the LEDWP efforts. And also, it's really it shows continued investment in our schools. Our schools have once again become focal points of the neighborhoods, and also it's really decreased really costly incidents of vandalism. which unfortunately, during this climate, as you know, our school district does face a budget crisis. Costs of incidents of vandalism are really harmful to our students and our schools as a whole. So I'm just here to say thank you, and I would really appreciate if you could continue your support of the program.
Well, we very, very much appreciate all of your being here and your very helpful comments and the work that you do. So we thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Next, we have Erin Riley, and after that, Graciela Geyer.
Hello. I'm a little nervous.
Don't.
Excuse me.
We're very
I'm a
friendly.
little
We're a very friendly group.
Unfortunately, I'm not here about something quite so positive as that last presentation. My name is Erin Riley. I own a landscaping company called Hope Gardens. I started my company by planting edible gardens for families and schools back in '08. When my husband and I divorced, I had been a stay-at-home mom for 8 years, and I needed a steady income quickly. At this time, edible gardens and sustainable landscaping were buzzwords, and as someone who always loved gardening, I had the good fortune to step into the fray at the right time. It was very hard work. I did it all myself for many years. I had no startup money. I planted a lot of free gardens and eventually got that first referral that led to a steady source of income for me and my kids. A couple of years into my business, I transformed my own front yard from grass to native plants and soon added that service to my repertoire. Then DWP started the Cash for Grass program, and my business exploded. My business has always been heart-based. Helping people is at the core of what I do. There were many, many questions about the rebate and drought-tolerant landscaping in general. I had to hire an assistant to help me. We had so many calls and emails. Over the course of 2 years, we fielded over 500 requests for information. My assistant would call DWP and wait on hold for hours every week just so we could have the most current information on the rebate and the regulations and the rules. I offered free landscape designs on my website, and I published helpful blogs with tips and tricks. I myself installed over 60 Cash for Grass rebate landscapes over a 2-year period, 2013, 2015, along with my regular landscaping work. I hired a crew that could do everything from demo to irrigation. I prided myself on giving folks a fair price for a really beautiful custom landscape, and I helped them enjoy the rebate from the city as well. I employed 10 people who were all very proud, and to make a long story short, I was sued in June last year by a client for whom I had done a rebate garden. She was able to sue me in small claims court for not being a contractor. She knew I was not a contractor. I have never pretended to be a contractor, and there was nothing wrong with her garden. In court, I was not allowed to have legal aid. I was not allowed to speak in my own defense. I had heard multiple times directly from DWP over the years that I did not, in fact, have to be a contractor to do those rebate gardens. I have it in writing in the form of emails, and I brought that to the court, and the judge threw it out. I have since contacted DWP and have the transcript from emails, online chats, etc. DWP representatives are still telling people they do not have to hire a contractor to do this work. Regardless of all that, I was sued for $6,000 and lost. She was able to recoup the entire cost of her yard, and she kept the yard, and she got the whole thing back because it was small claims court.
Please wrap up your comments.
I had to endure heartbreaking meetings with this client at the courthouse. I settled for $3,300. I don't know exactly what the law was that I broke, but I'm here just to let DWP know that you're still informing the public that they don't have to have a contractor do this work, when in fact they do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, the next speaker is Graciela Geyer, and after that, Philip Anaya from Bishop. Graciela Geyer? Going once?
She was just here.
I saw her.
Do you want to take the gentleman from Bishop?
Yeah. Yeah, we'll just, and then we'll call her back.
Ms. Geyer, do you mind standing at the podium? Thank you.
Sorry about that. I wanted to make a
comment on the reliability study. And I just want to thank you in advance for the reliability program update and just speak to the implication that it currently assumes that we need to replace gas plants with new gas plants. But what if we don't? And that's what our once through cooling study is really answering the fundamental reliability question. Do we need gas for reliability? And that's a really pertinent, critical question right now because a lot of utilities are pioneering new requests for offers, a new way to structure it so that clean energy can compete fairly with gas. And we're really optimistic about the study, and we're happy that we're working very closely with the department. And we just hope and want the study to result in a competitive solicitation process that will let clean energy compete fairly with gas as a utility for all of the potential, not only environmental benefits, but the impact that it could have to the local economy as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Excuse
Wait,
me.
don't go.
Ms. Geyer, are you here on your own personal behalf?
Oh, no,
or
no, sorry.
Do you represent a small organization? I just want
Sorry,
to.
my name is Graciela Geyer, and I'm here on behalf of the Sierra Club My Generation campaign. Thank you.
And that being said, I really, really appreciate that you woke up early this morning and can sense the energy and passion in your voice. And we appreciate you making the time to share your thoughts with us.
Thank you very much.
The next speaker is from Bishop Philip Anaya.
Good morning. My name's Philip Anaya. I want to thank you for the privilege to be able to address you this morning. I am a resident of both Bishop and Northridge, California. I am a native Angelino since 1948, and I am aware and have opinions of the City of Los Angeles and the LADWP in both locations. Okay. I wish to share a letter that I have written, published this past weekend in the Inyo Register, and also on the Sierra Wave website, regarding the cancellation of the test for well 385, and also the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act here in the Owens Valley. A copy of the letter is provided to staff and reads as follows. Dear Editor, despite the good news from DWP that well 385 has been canceled for the reasons offered, there are those who are aware of the persistent and good works of folks, local stakeholders, Inyo County and MOU parties that contributed to that decision. The solidarity of the parties in opposition to the test of finding common goals and purpose and taking appropriate actions has once again emanated in a positive result for the Owens Valley. While the test of 385 has been canceled, we all know that this and many other issues remain to be resolved. While certain individuals are to be credited for their part, all of the groups coming together displaying a united front to the LADWP seems to have been a positive dynamic, a powerful force in what is needed into the future for the Owens Valley and the City of Los Angeles. By the way, at full capacity, Crawley, Long Valley Reservoir has a high water elevation of 6,781.5 feet. According to the LADWP Northern District daily reports, Crawley Lake was at 67.68 on December 1st, 67.67 on the 15th, 67.67 on the 28th, and remains today at 67.67. While management of their operations is what LADWP does, that goes along with public relations that frankly do not hold water. With Crawley at near capacity at the beginning of January and the lower Owens River currently running just above 300 CFS, that does not mean that we have sufficient water for this year. With that being said, LADWP would be wise to not only make decisions based on quote-unquote protecting the local environment, but also begin to think in strict business terms that sustainable groundwater management and best groundwater management practices are a way to ensure that there is sufficient sustainable water table available into the future, no matter the snowpack, both for the Owens Valley and the thirsty millions in Los Angeles.
Please wrap up your comments.
I have one more paragraph, may I?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. The long-term water agreement provides a proxy process for the California Sustainable Groundwater Management Act in the adjudicated portions of the Owens Basin. Hydraulically linked non-adjudicated portions of the basin have a GSA-GSP process that is currently in the formation stage, and the non-adjudicated portions of the basin are required to meet the 2042 sustainable requirement. The adjudicated portion of the basin is not subject to that requirement, but that can and must change for the basin to become sustainable. LADWP and Inyo County, as co-signers of the long-term water agreement, need to initiate a dialogue regarding a voluntary 2042 sustainability requirement for the adjudicated portions of the basement. This dialogue needs to begin with a discussion of the coordinated management of the adjudicated, non-adjudicated boundary. LADWP needs to acknowledge and agree that their production pumping in the adjudicated portion will not draw down the water table in the non-adjudicated portion of the basin. As DWP is a recipient of those groundwaters and surface flow waters that convey through and over the non-adjudicated, they might be called the Owens Valley Authority portions of the basin. The OVA will likewise have to agree not to diminish those flows or the water tables of the long-term water agreement portion. DWP's Richard Harrisex, in his statement to the news release, must consider that working with Inyo County and local stakeholders needs to go on forever and not merely during the testing delay. And he might consider that local stakeholders will always have concerns as long as there is a DWP in the Owens Basin. If the city of Los Angeles considers its future important, then the future of the Owens Valley is part of that consideration, and now is the time to begin that consideration. Thank you very, very much for letting me go over and again to address you. And by the way, it's raining here in Bishop and no doubt snowing up in the higher elevations. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Well, we share that in common. It's been raining in Los Angeles as well, so we praise that. Sir, I hope that you recognize, I think this commission has been the strongest force to try and work with Inyo. And you stated that earlier with your first paragraph, and the fact that Commissioner Vasquez and I are making additional meetings to play up north to try and reach synergy and an understanding about being the most resourceful with our water needs and uses throughout California.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yvette, are those all the public comment cards?
Yes.
Okay, General Manager?
Two things I'd like to have Rich give us an update on an award we've won, and then hydrological conditions, kind of the water year-to-date update, and then Reiko will give us an update on the power system related to just this specific storm. Rich?
All right, thank you. On November 30th, Water and Power was awarded the 2017 Sustainable Innovation Award by the U.S. Green Building Council for our Los Angeles aqueduct filtration plant. That's the award in front of me here. In order to be considered for this prestigious award, the design and construction of the building or plant must exceed the leadership in energy and environmental design LEED standards. And in addition to meeting those standards, the plant, which actually celebrated its 30th anniversary this past May, was also acknowledged as being a partner and a showcase project for the United States Department of Energy's Better Plants Challenge. And what we're trying to do with that challenge is fulfilling a goal of reducing energy use by 25% over the next 10 years. So we're proud, even at 30 years old, that plant can still be a showcase project. Switching gears a bit, I want to talk about our hydrologic conditions. We typically brief the board starting at this time of year, and we'll do that at the beginning of each month, all the way through our April 1st report. And what I want to focus on is the three major areas of imported water supply. And as you no doubt know, you probably can give most of this presentation because it's been dry. You know, this storm we're getting right now is really the first rain that we've gotten in Los Angeles since last March. So yes, we did have a huge runoff year, but we didn't get a lot starting off this rain season. So of the first three major sources, I want to talk about the Colorado River aqueduct watersheds. And as of the beginning of this year, the upper Colorado River basin snowpack was 54% of what it should be normally this time of year. And on top of that, storage at Lake Powell and Lake Mead, which has a tremendous amount of storage and still quite a bit in there, is still below average at this time of year. And it shows at Powell 58% and Mead 39%. But they do hold a tremendous amount of storage in the Colorado system. Next, we look at the State Water Project, which gets water from the Sacramento-San Joaquin Delta. And as of January 2nd, statewide snowpack was 24% of normal. And that red band there on the northeastern side of the state depicts the northern Sierra and the southern Sierra watersheds that the state of California takes a look at. And as you can see that they're at 21 and 20% of normal for this time of year. What the state does is throughout, starting this time of year, they will project what the amount of the allocation that we through MWD is going to get to Southern California. And at this time, they're saying that we'll only get 15% of what is due to us. Now, that always starts out low, and as the year progresses through April 1st, then that number will rise. And except for Oroville Reservoir, storage at San Luis, Castaic, and Diamond Valley was slightly above average for this time of year. Now, Oroville is artificially low because, as you remember last year, they sustained major damage on their spillway, and so they are keeping that artificially low while they continue doing the constructed repairs on that spill structure. And then when we go to our own Los Angeles aqueduct, those curves there, the tall green curve is last year. It was a record snow year for us. The flat line at the bottom is our snowpack that extends all the way through April. There is the 2014-2015, which is the driest year on record. So remember, within 2 years, we had both the wettest and the driest year. And basically, the sum of this year is we're tracking right along with where we were on the driest year. So overall, the whole state and the amount that we get from the Colorado River Basin is all projected to be dry. And again, we'll keep you posted on that as we go throughout the year and end up on our April 1st report.
For this first storm of the season, we expect rain through this afternoon. We've elevated our response level to level 1, meaning we've got all our district crews registered with the electric trouble, so they are assisting. We've pulled off normal routine work, so we're available. We kept crews overnight to help get ahead of the any issues that arise. We have about 100 small outages filtered throughout the whole service territory, affecting about 6,000 customers.
Thank you, and that concludes my report.
Okay, comments from commissioners on agendized items and requests from commissioners relating to departmental operations.
I had a couple things.
Dr. Funderburg.
Yes, Dr. Levine. Let's see. Since our last board meeting, I had the pleasure and honor of attending several of the equity metrics presentations given to the neighborhood councils. And I want to thank John Chen, Neil, Joe Romallo, and Aaron Gross for the work that they put in and their staffs to doing it. It's an iterative process. It's improving. The neighbors at the neighborhood council level are starting to get and understand it. And thanks to any of the other commissioners, including Commissioners Vasquez and thanks Barad, who supported that. I also attended the Small Business Academy graduation. Gwen Williams, who likes to hide, she's over there. She doesn't like. she's got her face buried in her books, like she always does, working 12-hour days and everything that Gwen does. Gwen, you've been amazing. You introduced me to department operations and took me under your wing, and you got very little credit for this. But you and John Reamer from the city really deserve all the credit for getting it off the ground. Nobody wanted to put their name on this 4 years ago because everybody was afraid it might fail. You took the risk, you deployed your staff, and you did an amazing job at increasing the outreach, sticking up for the small guy, the small businesses, and making sure that they are given an equal opportunity at the procurement that we have. So I want to recognize Gwen on that. The third thing was on, as to the next couple of board meetings, Neil, I'd like to make sure that for the budget we have an integrated approach to financing equity metrics. I don't believe that this commission intended to create another program. So it's taken us time. It'll take more time to do it in an integrated, wise way. That's what we do with our local power, local control, is we don't do it by mandate, we do it the way that sees fit. So I'd like to make sure that, and I've talked to other people about the budgeting and my comments on that, including the Stormwater Incentive Program as well. Lastly, and not least, I wanted to ask President Levine for a moment of silence in memory of my uncle, Reverend Dr. James Hester Hargett, in a civil rights pioneer whom I gave one of the eulogies at his funeral on Saturday, and the family actually included Department of Water and Power's name in print in a positive way. So for the award that was given to him, Rabbi Reagans and Sylvia Mendez. So if we could just have a moment of silence in memory of Uncle Jim. Thank you. Thanks.
Highly appropriate from a nephew who very much followed in the footsteps of the uncle. Any other comments from commissioners?
Amen.
Commissioner Barad.
Thank you. I just wanted to add to Commissioner Funderburk's report about the equity and gender metrics. Neil Guglielmo,
you got it.
Did I get it? John Chen and Christine Holland came to our last meeting of the Valley Alliance of Neighborhood Councils, which is the largest and oldest neighborhood council alliance in the city. And they made a very comprehensive report on the equity metrics and was very well received. And I think that we picked up someone who wants to be a line person, because the president of the Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council, her daughter, just didn't know how to get in touch with DWP. And she wants to be a line person. She's now driving an 18-wheeler truck, but she really wants to climb up the poles. And so that was discussed about the ease of finding out how do you apply. And we went through that whole procedure, and I'm hoping that we review it because as the way it was explained that night, you have to go to the city's website, then from the city you come back to DWP, and it was really kind of circuitous. And luckily that night it was explained, so she was going to tell her daughter. And I think if we make it more customer friendly, we're going to get more recruits for jobs that are really traditionally held by men. But I want to thank the team that came out. It was really wonderful. And we have 34 neighborhood councils, so it really spoke to the whole valley at once.
Excellent. Okay, comments from ratepayer advocate.
If items come off consent, we may have comments on individual items, but in particular, we would like to point out item 14, the MEA agreement. We believe, based on the salary surveys that were done in 2015 through the early this year, that overall compensation may be low and may cause competition problems. And we encourage management to come back if necessary, if changes are needed, to retain and build the management corps.
Thank you.
With your permission, I'd like to make a statement. Having served on this board for many, many years, I think it's very, very important for the public to realize that, unfortunately, our board has very little power over these MOUs within unions. And so at the very last minute, we are offered to sign off on approvals, but we are not part of the negotiations. And so as a public, if you want to take this up with City Council, the Mayor's office, I think it's very important for you to understand that we're not part of these negotiations.
Okay, we're going to go into a closed session in a couple of minutes that will be a relatively short closed session, I am told, 15 to 30 minutes. We will have a longer closed session after the full agenda. I want to do a couple things just before we go into the closed session. First of all, one of the items on our agenda, and I just want to announce this for those of you who are here and to whom it is relevant, item 29 will be one of the items that we'll be voting on. It changes the meeting dates from the first and the third Tuesday of every month to the second and the fourth. So for those of you who do come regularly to these meetings, they will be on, I'm assuming that this vote will carry, and the meetings will no longer be the first and the third. The regular meetings will no longer be the first and the third Tuesday, but the second and the fourth. Secondly, I'm going to call for a motion to defer item 21. And if there's no objection, just to try to make life easier for people who are here on items that will be approved in consent, I think I'd like to ask, before we go into closed session, just to go over the full agenda and see which items we can dispose of on consent. So in terms of items 11 through 30, are there, do commissioners wish to remove particular items between 11 and 30 from the consent calendar? Commissioner Barat.
Item 20, please.
Okay, hold on. Let me just mark these.
Commissioner Levine?
Yes.
Commissioner Vasquez will need to be recuse herself from 30. We'll have to pull it out.
Yes, I
30.
I anticipated that. Okay, 20 is removed, 30 is removed. Any others?
Sorry, in 21 is going to be deferred for next meeting.
21 will be deferred. Okay, so is there a motion to approve items 11 through 19 and 22 through 29?
So moved.
Second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those are approved. Is there a motion to defer item 21? I move it.
Second.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 21 is deferred. We will hear items 20 and 30 after the first closed session, And council, what are the magic words to move us into closed session?
Yeah, at this point, we will recess into closed session to address the items on item 7 of our agenda, and we'll report any final actions taken thereon in accordance with the brownout.
Okay, with that, we'll go into closed session. Well, I'm glad you did.
recording.
Okay, we will return to being in session, and we will have our management reports. Emergency preparedness, 6A.
So I often get asked what keeps you up at night, and at the top of my list is basically if another Northridge earthquake event happens, are we prepared for that likelihood? And so much of my own, not only 2018 resolutions, but resolutions for myself in this position is to prepare ourselves, and Rachel, I'm sure, feels the same way for the power system. So we have today staff, Ophelia Rubio from the water system, Lisa Hayes from the Office of Emergency Services, and Marvin Moon from Power System to give a report on how the department is prepared really for that type of event, or really all hazards event. And so Ophelia is starting. Oh, Lisa is starting. Thank you.
I'm just going to kick it off. Good afternoon, I believe. So over the past year, I believe you've been provided with information on the department's emergency management program with respect to mitigation and resiliency. And so today we're going to talk about other components of emergency management, which are emergency response and recovery. So with me today are Ophelia Rubio with the Water System Emergency Response Group and Marvin Moon, Director of Engineering Services, who will tell you about the efforts that have been made within their systems to prepare our resources.
Okay, so thank you for the opportunity to address you. I will cover what the water system is doing to prepare for an emergency. We are set up to respond with different teams. We have a water emergency command center team that's composed of management as well as supervisory personnel that will lead and assist the system in the case of a large-scale emergency. We also have different teams throughout the system. We have damage assessment teams, operational, construction, laboratory teams to help respond in the case of an emergency. We've identified different locations to report to. We've got here at JFB is one location. The LA filtration plant is also a location. The Central District Yard at our Temple, on Temple, is another location that we will report to. There's redundancy in the case of an emergency to respond to different locations. We work with supply chain services, and many thanks to Gwen Williams again and her assistance and her team's staff's assistance in helping us meet our goals. In fact, recently we had 4 exercises with their stores staff to ensure that we had emergency materials in place to be ready. The Office of Emergency Management, Lisa Hayes and her staff, also many thanks to them for help assisting us. And we also have staff that are prepared and are trained to go to the city's Emergency Operations Center. In fact, during the recent fire event, we had staff there available to assist. So the water system has various resources, again, to provide redundancy. Of course, our employees, our disaster service workers, and are available. We emphasize that they be ready at home so that in case of emergency, they can respond and assist the department. We have different mobile emergency response posts, including we're one of the few utilities. We're quite lucky to have a water quality lab where staff can test the water to make sure it's safe for drinking purposes. And again, we've worked with supply chain services and their stores, and we have mutual aid agreements, with East Bay Mud to the north, to the northeast with the Las Vegas Valley Water District. We meet with them on a regular basis to make sure that we could leverage off of one another. Preparedness is very important, and for responding, we train our staff. We train our staff with FEMA requirements so that if reimbursement is available, we can get the reimbursement. We also exercise staff. We have communication exercises and do tabletop exercises. In the recent year, we did over 30 activities, 30 different exercises to make sure we were prepared for an emergency. And
excuse me for a moment. Given the numerous natural disasters that our country experienced this past year,
yes,
I know that the general manager and the mayor have been on top of this issue. I know for a fact that the convention center is housed with all of the medicine, water, food items to help out Angelenos in case of an earthquake or any kind of natural disaster. I know that we as a board have authorized an outstanding consultant, a third entity, to help us learn from what transpired this past year. And my question is, have we tripled our resources to expect what may be arriving to Los Angeles?
So in terms of just supporting our own staff to respond to that, we do have, nothing's probably ever completely adequate, but we do have both food and water and shelter for our staff for a prolonged event here happening in the city, if that's what you're referring to. And then the Office of Emergency Services will also be securing a contract with a third party to bring in whatever else we need. So oftentimes you'll see the fire department, like on these fires, they'll set up a whole camp and they'll have laundry service and cooking and everything like that. So we're going to bring those expertise and resource into the city.
I think just for the public that watches these board meetings, I think it's very important for Angelenos to realize that the mayor's office and our department is focusing our top resources not only to prepare for a potential natural disaster, but we're also using our best resources to defend against cyber security issues.
I will say, and I don't know if it'd be in the presentation though, that both on the what makes water and power somewhat unique, at least in municipal, is the level of capability we have just with our construction operations forces. So we have a lot of material stocked on hand and the ability to reconstruct a great part of the city if needed to as well.
Yeah. And I'd also like to add that over the past few years, we've been really enhancing our networking with our mutual aid partners and our mutual assistant partners. We meet with them at least once a year back east, and then quarterly here in the state of California to ensure that, we are communicating, that we can share our resources, and that we're all, able to do so when something happens. We engage in a lot of advance warnings and communications when something is on the horizon. For instance, the weather today, we've been communicating with our partners so that if necessary, we can expand our resources appropriately.
So in fact, we're meeting at the end of this month with East Bay Mud in Las Vegas to go over our resources to make sure that we can leverage off of one another. And so the partnerships are there with other agencies as well as California agencies, as well as with the Metropolitan Water District. So I'll be happy to answer any other questions. Thank you.
Okay, next slide. So on the power side, it's a very similar story. If there's a large emergency that requires coordination, the power system has what's called the Emergency Command Center, or EMCC, that's opened up. And then top managers from the power system will go in and occupy key positions. And they follow the kind of big words, but Standardized Emergency Management System and National Incident Management System protocol. In other words, it's a methodology to respond to emergencies. And on the chart you see up there, you see some boxes. The managers will assume these different boxes and different roles and to be able to respond to it and coordinate with all the appropriate stakeholders. At the same time, a lot of power system emergencies are related to distribution problems, and that requires a whole slew of coordination. So we have a separate place called the Power Distribution Operations Center, or PDOC, which is, if there's a big distribution problem, will be opened up, and they will report to the EMCC. So they handle a lot of the logistics, handling out in the field, while the EMCC handles higher level responsibilities. And just like Ophelia said, we practice with drills periodically to make sure we're all up to speed on how to respond. And of course, the primary thing is to protect life, property, and the environment. Next slide, please. So responding to these emergencies, the electric troubles, Reiko mentioned earlier with the storm that they have different levels, and it's based on how fast they can respond to emergencies. And with each level comes different call outs of personnel to help support whatever is happening out in the field. Additionally, they have a lot of emergency equipment that can respond. On the power system, one of the most popular ones are mobile transformers, because that's often was an issue. Those are called hog wagons. And materials and equipment, we talked about that just a minute ago. It's three things. One is having sufficient inventory in the stores to be able to handle the emergency. Secondly is a lot of the power equipment takes a long time to get. It could take over a year to get some big transformers and other equipment. So we have a spare parts strategy of what happens if that unit fails, what are we going to do? And lastly, utilities, when you talk about mutual aid, it's not just personnel, it's also being able to share resources or materials if someone comes up short. And just like the water system, we have food and emergency storage for our employees for prolonged stays so they can respond. And we coordinate, of course, with the Office of Emergency Management. And we also send people to the city when they open up their emergency operations center when it's a citywide emergency. Lisa?
Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
Marvin, and the rest of the staff, thank you for the presentation. I'm going to have to go. I just wanted to know if we have a regular procedure in place that allows the board to to meet its duty, non-delegable duty, to monitor and supervise the ongoing evolution of any disruption, attack, shock, or anything. Is that system in place for reporting to the board? And if it isn't, when would that be in place?
Lisa?
So during a major emergency event, the board would be advised and updated by the general manager. You may be called into emergency meetings of the board to authorize contracts for the restoration and the recovery effort. During that time, you would be updated. Most likely, you would also be updated periodically throughout the event by the general manager and the executive staff.
So that process is in writing, or is it internal and it can't be shared, or what?
I believe the admin code speaks to the authorization of contracts by the board on an emergency basis. However, the status information sharing part is part of the crisis management team function. If the crisis management team is activated, if there's a lower level response, then it would be the function of the department operations centers, either water or power, to share that information upwards towards the board.
And so the crisis management team is the general manager's, and it's a written policy and procedure of how he manages the water and power systems, and then pushes information up to the mayor's office, council, and to its board.
I would like to see that if it's public. Otherwise, if it's private, if we could just deal with that in closed session.
Yeah,
Thank you.
response is very formatted, partly because we need to follow established criteria in terms of cases reimbursement for emergencies and things like that. So it's structured very much like police and fire structure as well. It's all part of the NIM system.
Okay, so moving forward, if you look at the headline here on this image, it's from the 1994 earthquake, which we actually have the anniversary of next week, I believe. And that was a major day, a major crisis event for the city of Los Angeles. It was a bad day. Any earthquake is a bad day in LA if it's significant enough. But those are pretty infrequent. The more frequent hazards are the winds and the rains and the high temperatures, the adverse weather. And so we're prepared to not only respond internally to events that impact our infrastructure, but also integrate into the city's response as well. And the way we do that is pretty much through the unified command posts at the field level, where public safety officials are managing the event through the use of objectives that save lives and property and the environment. So we support that with respect to providing them with information about what's happening internally to the department, as well as any other resources that we could share. We also support the city's emergency operations organization. We are part of the 15-member team that makes up the EOO. These are departments that have an emergency response element to their emergency plans. Of those departments, the general managers of those departments basically make up the emergency operations board, and they advise the mayor on policy issues, strategic decisions that need to be made, and they also keep the mayor apprised of what's happening in the department and whether or not there's a lack of resources or additional resources that can be shared. We support the Emergency Operations Center, as Ophelia and Marvin also mentioned, by sending responders to be that liaison and that link between the city and the department. Internally, we have And I'll just basically say 3 categories of response. There's the operational level, which is at the field, and the incident commanders who are on site at incidences trying to stabilize the event. We have the strategic, and we also have the tactical. Throughout the operational response, it's important that we communicate. And that's through our many redundant systems, the notification of personnel by sharing information upwards and internally, as well as to all of our stakeholders. We just recently had a multi-platform communications test with a shakeout drill back in October, where we tested all of these different functionalities. And the main thing to gain from that is it's not just to make sure that these things work, but to make sure that people are familiar with how to use them, because you don't want to be fumbling during a disaster on trying to make a phone call or communicate. On the tactical level of our response, we have our department operations centers, which were mentioned, the EMCC and the WECC. This is where our key managers gather to make an organized response plan through the incident action planning process. In the right-hand corner of the graphic, you'll see the planning P, and this is a Coast Guard template, which basically helps managers gain situational awareness of where they are initially and create operational plans that last throughout the event through operational phases. Through the use of objectives, you create a plan, you address the plan with tactics that help you achieve those objectives. And so this is an operational phase that can last throughout your event. And so this is very helpful in the incident action planning process, which is a critical document for the reimbursement process. Also, we have the mobile command centers, which help the command and control in the field. And so Ophelia and Marvin spoke about the water quality lab and the electric trouble dispatch wagon. We also have the department's emergency command post vehicle, as well as the water mobile emergency response post.
Lisa, when you hear police and fire, say at a big brush fire, talking about the incident command center, that is their function of that planning P. That's what they're running, right?
That's correct. That's correct. In any incident command system, this template is used worldwide, basically to structure your response based on your planning efforts. So we fall into the city's use of it, as well as the state and the federal government. On a more strategic level, when there's a very large or major event that impacts the department, it's important that we activate the crisis management team, which would be led by the general manager. And this is a policy group, an executive level policy group, that will provide the general manager with the status update of their divisions and their systems, advising him of any lack of resources or the need for any type of other elements that we don't have control of. This group would be important in the strategic decision-making function so that the department can continue to move forward with the new landscape. So we mentioned the Board of Commissioners would be required to attend emergency meetings to authorize contracts as necessary. As we move through recovery and the situation is stabilized, the important thing is to maintain the core services. Usually during the operational periods, you're making temporary fixes on occasions, but you want to make sure those become permanent. It's important that all responders are debriefed so that we can gain any lessons learned, any type of gaps that are identified. It's important that we gather that information and put it into an after-action report so that we can learn from our experience. We need to know what our strengths were, what did we do really well, and what do we need to improve. This improvement planning process is an ongoing event where you're addressing the gaps, assigning and making people accountable to make sure those fixes are in place. So again, you need to plan for the new landscape. What you once had before the event may no longer be the same. The territory may change. This is the case of what happened up north with the fires we saw over the summer. Their new service territory is different, as well as in Puerto Rico. You need to streamline the rebuilding process where necessary, and we also need to support our local assistance centers, and these are opened up for the public to gain information on what they need to do to get back to normal. During the Creek and Sayre fires, we had our customer service reps staff the local assistance centers, and they were there to help people pretty much hold their hands to make sure that they were getting the right information about reconnection and reestablishing service. So all of these things go into our emergency management program. It helps us become more resilient, more robust in our response, and it's a continuous cycle. We never stop. We're always trying to improve. So, questions?
Thank you for your presentation. I have a quick question specifically regarding the fires. How is our coordination with other departments like the police department and like the fire department? I know that I saw some folks commenting on DWP's Twitter account around whether the water was getting to places where they needed it to put down the fires or not. So I'm just curious, would you explain to us and to whoever it is watching in our live stream or in Channel 34 on how that goes about?
Sure. As I mentioned, we're part of the Emergency Operations Organization, those key 15 departments that have a major response role. Anytime there's advanced knowledge of a potential hazardous situation, which we had for the fires, we had high winds, very humid temperatures. The city's emergency management department either puts together a conference call or a meeting where we can basically spell out what our operational plan is. We make contact lists so that people know who to call. They share information, they know who to contact if they have a question. During the fires, I believe there was a question regarding the pressure in the tanks for firefighting. And so we were able to reach down into our water system and find out that information, pass it back up the chain to the emergency management department. So there's a lot of coordination and a communication that is occurring even prior to emergencies.
And I'd like at this moment to commend General Manager Wright, because I feel that not only has he made strides in communicating to our customer base, but as you know, anytime there's a fire, a serious situation, who gets informed right away? We do, and we're updated very, very periodically to know what our team's doing. So I feel that the communication is strong. And if our general manager is doing that with us as a board, I can only imagine what he's doing behind the scenes. So I commend him.
I can definitely attest to that myself, that the commissioners, we get the emails, updates on any emergencies. And so I just think that for some reason, some members of the community believe that specifically on the fire that the fire department was not getting the water that they needed because of security measures that we have. And I think that you have responded today that you guys work in coordination so that actually it's not happening, that doesn't happen.
Right.
Okay, I have a question. As you know, the floods in Florida, there were some fatalities there with the rest homes and the hospitals because the power went out. People didn't have air conditioning. So do you have specific procedures dealing with hospitals, convalescent homes, assisted living, that you respond, or the fire department, whoever responds immediately?
Well, I can answer in a twofold answer.
Can you speak into the microphone?
I'm sorry. So I think this is a twofold answer. Number one, hospitals and assisted living centers are required by law to have backup generation. So they fall under the public health, I believe, standards with respect to making sure that they have services available.
They had that in Florida too, and they had fatalities.
Right. From an internal standard, power system has the prioritization of circuits. And I'm probably going to let Marvin chime in here as well. But critical facilities, such as hospitals, are identified and can be prioritized based on the ability to do so. We also communicate information to the fire department with respect to our customers who may be receiving a discount for life support equipment. That information, as well as our own SOPs for our communications with persons on that list, can help this overall effort to ensure that those persons are notified when there is an outage, a planned outage, as well as when there is an emergency outage. So there is communication that takes place with those persons. And those persons have identified a criteria, a threshold for which they can tolerate an outage. If there's a planned outage that goes beyond their threshold, they're advised that they need to seek, they need to follow their emergency plan or seek medical attention. If it's not a planned outage and it's an emergency event, those persons are notified that based on our response to different levels, storm level or major emergency response, that we can restore the power within so many hours. If they can't withstand that threshold, then they need to follow their emergency plan.
Now, is what you just said, is that written down?
Yes,
Is
it
that
is.
an official policy dealing with the critical facilities and how they're going to be dealt with?
Yes, that is from our electric trouble group, and it ties into the IVR system.
That's correct. Yeah, the load dispatchers do know where the critical facilities are, such as hospitals, and like she said, the patients on life support equipment. In addition to that, in addition to what she said, one other thing that's happened in some emergencies is, like we were talking about coordination with RC departments, is that we worked very closely with like the Department of Aging and other folks where they actually visited people in cases where we've had heat storms and outages related. So we've been coordinating with other departments that could service some of these individuals.
Well, I would think that in this case that I'm describing, the coordination would be with the fire department more than any other agency?
It's with several agencies, but fire is obviously one of them. And
I mean,
the cooling
terms of
centers.
emergency,
Right.
ambulances or whatever they would have.
Yeah, and there's also like the cooling centers in town which open up.
The what?
The cooling centers
Yeah.
where people don't have air conditioning.
Commissioner Barad, sometimes it's easier to visualize if I just say like kind of exactly what happens. When there's an outage, I'll get a message and it'll say like, circuit 1, 2, 3 is out. Critical customers on that are this hospital, that school, that community center, that nursing home. And so we know who is on each one of our circuits, and a circuit might, it might go from a couple hundred to 1,000 customers or a little bit more, but they're not, they're to that detail level. So we can see if we have outages throughout the city beyond our staff's capabilities, then we start prioritizing. And we're going to turn on the circuits with the hospitals, with the schools and community centers, because those are evacuation locations. So, excuse me, we're able to prioritize how to get the help out there. And then we can also notify other departments and other agencies if we can't get to somebody, so that we can let them know, hey, there's an issue. We are not going to be able to get power to this circuit for 24 hours, and yet there's a nursing home. Again, those places are supposed to have backup generation, excuse me, and supposed to be able to run for 24, 48, 36 hours. And so we provide that help to them. So that is how kind of the process works, actually on a very visual level, and we can see. And the people at the operations center are, when they get to that point, prioritizing where we dispatch crews so we can get the most help to those that need that help.
Thank you. That's very helpful. That makes me feel a lot better.
Yeah. One of the things I might add is that, every emergency, whether big or small, whoever's affected by it, it's big. And so even on a large fire, we will roll crews to make sure they check in with the fire department to make sure they have adequate water pressure in case we need to do something in the system. We're always in contact when there's power lines down, in a traffic collision, and there's water spraying, the fire department gets a hold of us. So we have a very close working relationship. The city's Emergency Operations Center, of course, is a very formal relationship, and that also provides mechanisms for us to communicate. And then when there's a major incident, and the fire department has an incident command center set up like they've had for the large fires, we are there as well, so that they can understand what our needs are, and we can understand what their needs are and where they need support. So there's a lot of coordination. When Lisa was talking about the planning P and the National Incident Management System, it was the SIMS, because the state of California led the nation in emergency management planning. And so then SIMS became NIMS when the nation adopted California's model. And so if you talk to people from 9/11 in New York, you talk to the officials, they'll tell you the problems they have with communicating just between police and fire. And so there's been considerable effort in California and now nationally to not have those kind of gaps. And certainly we are included as a critical component when there's an incident like that. And so we play a role. We send people to be at those locations to make sure that there's not a gap in service.
Very good. Thank you very much. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
All right. Are there any other questions or comments? Please indulge President Levine. He had to step away for a few minutes. That being said, he's asked me to resume the agenda. With that, we would like to hear from our Power System Reliability Program, the annual update, which was deferred from the November 28th board meeting.
While we have staff mobilizing for this, I would like to recognize Jay Poklovitz. Jay will be retiring February 1st. He started, you can just stand up. He started his career in 1985 as an electrical craft helper, and he quickly proved himself capable of learning many different things. He was very respected by everybody he worked with, and he had a number of promotions over his career. He was a lineman, he was a superintendent, he was a division head, and in 2009 he accepted the position of the Director of Power Transmission and Distribution. So he brought skill, expertise, and most importantly, respect to this position. Again, he will retire February 1st after 32 years of serving the citizens of Los Angeles, and I, on behalf of the department, want to sincerely thank you for all your efforts on behalf of, for the city of Los Angeles and the department in particular.
You know, they ask you, how does it feel to retire, and, what are you going to miss? And I think the thing I'm going to miss the most is just the employees that we have here. I've got to work with some amazing, bright people. Reiko, it's been a pleasure working with you and for you. You were a great addition at a perfect time. Andy, who's not here, I've seen several AGMs, and you two are the best that I've worked for. Mr. Wright, it's been a pleasure working for you and having you here, Marty. Marv, Lewis, worked on a lot of these presentations. The staff that I have and who is taking my place are exceptional. I asked them that I didn't want anything, so I'm kind of a little disappointed that I'm here. I guess you're retiring when they stop listening to you. And with that, I want you to know they're really good at board presentations, and they promise to meet every PSRP goal. So definitely leaving in good hands. This is an amazing place to work, and it's been a pleasure. And I want to thank you. I want to thank the board for your support on the power reliability programs. Since I started here, we've been pushing and asking for this, and you've supported us and given it to us, and it's going to make a big difference in reliability to our ratepayers. So thank you. Thank you again, Reiko, for everything, and it's been a great career, and you guys will be there pretty soon. Thanks.
Thank you. Well, thank you for all of your talents and your devotion. And P.S., you look too young to retire. I think we should.
So with that, we're going to move on to the Power System Reliability Program for the most recent fiscal year, 16-17. And we had tremendous success both in meeting our rate metrics, increasing our productivity, and as well as replacing aging infrastructure. This was not, it took a village. We had lots of boots on the ground, safety and training, engineering, transmission distribution, construction maintenance operations, as well as support from the back office. And these don't happen by accident, but they aren't without challenges too, because what I mentioned earlier is we have the same pool of resources. So although we have these very aggressive goals on replacing our infrastructure, when we have weather events like this, or fires, we deploy every crew we have. We pull them off their normal duties, and so depending on how many emergencies we have, it may impact our metrics. So here today we have Louis Ting, who is our Director of Planning and Development, as well as Marv Moon, our Engineering Department Director.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. This power system reliability program truly takes a team effort. The PSRP program, besides what Jay just mentioned, the power system transmission distribution division, and we're just here representing the team that really got it done, and we're talking to people with the boots on the ground all the way to the engineering, to our city attorney's office, all of the supply chain. We had to make this happen in order to continue to supply the reliability services that we continue to serve our city of Los Angeles. So what we're going to present today is really cover three areas. What we've accomplished in the fiscal year 16-17 for this program, and how we compare with other utilities in California, and compare with using this industry standard matrix. And last but not least, how we measure up comparing our budgeted versus actual expenditures for this fiscal year for this program. So without further ado, I just want to recap real quick. Our PSRP's objectives and goals is really to look at, improve our system reliability for all facets of our businesses with our equipment in generation, transmission, substation, and distribution areas. And also to proactive replacements and maintenance of our equipment, definitely to minimize to operational repair costs and standardize the processes that we procure materials and also on our materials itself. And so the next 3 slides, we're going to focus on some of the key targets that we have accomplished and also achieved in our business area. First, I'll talk about a little about generation. For that fiscal year 16-17, we completed 3 major inspections in our power plants. And those were the Big Pine Power Plant, the Haynes Units 14, which is our fast start and fast ramp unit that is so key to the success of following renewable resources. And also our KATZ Unit 2, which is our pump storage hydro unit, that is so key to our success to store some of those renewables during the times that we need to store them. And so those are the 3 major inspections we achieved in fiscal year 16-17. In addition, one item of note is that we added 4 gas in oil analyzers. These are dissolved gas in oil analyzers that is so key to the health and also to provide continuous monitoring and sending data to our operations to ensure that if there's any potential problem with these transformers, we know way ahead of the time. And those were the additional items that we added because of we're taking the advantage of these units being out, meaning not in service. We added these analyzers to these main bank transformers. These are the very large transformers in those generating stations. So that's on the generation side. And the next, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the key activities that we accomplished in the transmission side. And we had a target to replace 2 circuit miles of 138 kV. These are the very high voltage, but these were put in the 70s, 80s with oil. These are oil-cooled cables where we actually replaced 5 circuit miles of these oil-filled cables with new technology, with synthetic cables that doesn't have the same risk profile and operation risks as these oil-filled cables. And we also had a target of 20 maintenance hole covers. These are actual maintenance hole covers that we replaced for these large high voltage cable and volts. And what we did is retrofitted these maintenance hole covers with specially designed restraints that in the event there's some type of incident occur in the vault, that these manhole cover will be restrained and will not cost as much, and hopefully prevent some of the incidents that used to occur in those things. In addition, we also commenced the construction of 12-mile, the 230 kV, the Scattergood Olympic cable, and we're about 90% plus complete on that. And our target is to complete it by May of this year. And one significance of this project is that with any new transmission line that we put in, these are all underground cable, even though it's only 12 miles, we started the concept and also started the preliminary engineering and also the secret process and the stakeholder outreach for this particular project back in 2005. So this is a very significant project for us, but also I just want to let everyone know that it does take a long time to put new transmission line in the city. It's very challenging, but we're meeting that challenge. And now I'm going to talk about on the substation side. So we have essentially 4 key activities. We met and exceeded all of our targets on these 4 activities. So the 4 receiving station transformers, that serves over 500,000 customers, if you count them all of them at once. And then we replaced the distributing transformer and 10 circuit breakers on 34.5 and 5 4.8 kV circuit breakers. And in addition, we replaced 1 line transformer bank on substation. That was due to an enforced outage. It was not expected that to happen, but our crews got together and construction really did a fine job of replacing that transformer. And that is a key transformer that we replaced to bring in all the renewables that we have on the El Dorado Valley area. That was a very key accomplishment there. And next, I'm going to ask Marv to talk a little bit about the distribution side.
Switching gears to distribution, there are 4 key indicators that we report out on. One of them is our poles. On a graph up here, you see 3 areas. The blue is our goal for reliability changeouts. For example, in the 16-17 fiscal year, our goal was 2,500 pole replacements, and we accomplished 2,600 poles. We met that goal. And when they say replaced, we're talking about poles that they've identified some sort of reliability issue with them. For example, there's something wrong with them. But then overall, we not only replace the poles that need that are aged or corroded or rotten, but we also do a lot of pole replacements for service planning, for relocation work, for the MTA lines, and other work going on in the city. And that total is over 3,400 poles for that effort. So, on the underground cables, our goal for that fiscal year was 48 miles, and we fell a little short. We came up with 38 miles of cable that needed to be replaced. Overall, including new business and relocation work and other work in the system, we replaced 53 miles of cable, so that's a good sign. Cross arms, we met the goal there as well. Those are those horizontal pieces of wood on the poles. We have about 1.2 million cross arms in the system, and we had a goal of changing 7,000 rotten ones, and we did that. And overall, we replaced 20,000 for the fiscal year. And transformers as well, we have 128,000 of those. We had a goal of changing out 700 ones that were overloaded or had issues, and we beat that goal with 900. And overall, we changed out over 3,000 transformers in the fiscal year. So we met most of the goals. Next slide, please. I mentioned that our cable replacement goal came up a little short. There's a couple reasons for that. One of them was, let's see, it's often difficult for cable replacements to change them out. You know, on the big heavy cables, you can often switch around it and take it out and then replace it. But when you're up in the neighborhoods and the hills, there's no redundancy. So typically the crews have to go out there and then temp up the whole neighborhood with cables laying in the street to keep the houses operating. Then the crews come in and change out the cable out in the street, in the underground cables, and then they have to undo the temps. So it's like a 3-step process to get that done, which is obviously very time-consuming. Also, in that fiscal year, we had a void in our contracts. We had a 5-month void, which caused a contribution towards the lower number. A lot of economic upswing. We had a lot of new business activities and other work going on in the city, and severe weather events, of course, being a record year for rains and windstorms and the likes of that. Next three. Yeah, this is the same. I just said that. One other project that we did for our cable replacements is we have a ground electrode that goes from Kenter Canyon on the West LA down Sunset Boulevard out to the ocean. And that cable is obsolete, and it's kind of it works with our Silmar converter station, which brings in power from the north. That cable is being replaced right now, and that counted towards our goal as well. Next slide. A little bit about reliability. How good are we, and how do we compare? This is a chart that compares 2 reliability indices. One is called SAFE, and it stands for System Average Interruption Frequency Index. Now that's a big fancy word that means it's how often are customers out. So the frequency is a key word. It basically if on an average year, on average, how many times is a customer out? Hopefully it's around 1 or less. The other one is called SAIDI, and that stands for System Average Interruption Duration Index. So D is the key word, duration. In other words, if average customer is out, how long on average are they out? So these are, and those are in minutes. So these are the 2 comparisons, and we're comparing the 3 IOU utilities in California to us. We're the blue, Edison, Southern California Edison is the red, Pacific Gas and Electric is the green, and the purple is San Diego Gas and Electric. What we see is that the SAIDI and SAFE indices, we compare fairly well against the other 3 utilities, neighboring utilities, and Edison, of course, being right next door. But again, safety and safety is very weather dependent. And you can see over the 3-year time periods of 14, 15, and 16, these are calendar years, the weather got more severe and everyone's indices kind of went up in both categories, and ours included.
Sorry, I have a quick question about this.
Yes, ma'am.
So compared to the frequency and the duration of 2016 for DWP, last year's, 15 and 2016 in terms of duration, we have a 92 and 117, and you are accounting this because of weather, severe weather change?
A lot of it is due to weather, a good chunk of it. The indices actually don't care what the cause is. You know, it could be weather related, could be cars hitting poles, could be corrosion, could be aging, whatever it is. But it is a factor that is heavily weather dependent.
Last summer, if you remember, there were like 2 big incidents, and it was really hot, and those incidents lasted. One of them was like 24 hours long, and I think one was 12 hours. But those 2 had a significant influence on this current year's duration of that indice. The other I wanted to say, with kind of expand a little on what Marv says, if you look, San Diego's got the lowest numbers where it's always 78 degrees, there's no wind, and there's not a lot of stuff to burn. And it doesn't rain very much there either. So it is very weather dependent. And so comparing against Edison's probably the best, and then PG&E and San Diego, you kind of have to balance those 2.
Next slide, I want to show you something else. These standards are related to, they're determined, it came from an organization called the Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineers, or IEEE. And basically, it's used throughout the utility industry on how you measure reliability. The standard allows you to report everything you see. It also lets you report excluding major events. And major events is defined as if the incident is more than 2.5 times your 5-year average, then you can count it. You can take it out. So the IOUs and department report it both ways, with everything and taking out major events. And the main point on this one is that the first 2014 and 2015 for us did not have any major events. So it reported. 2016 had 3 major events because of weather incidents. So if you take out the weather events, for us anyway, the reliability actually is better than 14 and 15. So there was an improvement in that regard.
So real quickly on the budget of actual, and again, this is truly a teamwork on getting our budget to be really close to our actual and vice versa. So if you look at the numbers, on all areas of our business, generation, transmission, substation, distribution, and including information systems, we were about 50% under in capital and 1% under in O&M. So these met all the matrices for the rate matrix. So again, I'm very proud of what Marvin and his engineers are doing, and our planning and all the construction folks and the power transmission distribution folks are doing, because we're monitoring and they're meeting the targets. So that is very key for FY 16-17. And just give you a little preview for 17-18, this current fiscal year, up to date, we're even closer to the rate matrix than our previous fiscal year. So that's really good news on some of these budgets. So in conclusion, I just want to summarize real quick, and like both Reiko and Marvin and also Jay mentioned, that we met or exceed our targets, and we place actually more assets in 16-17 than previous fiscal years. We're indices, safety, if you take out or exclude the major events, we're actually better than 14 and 15, even though we did increase it due to some severe weather events and other major events. So again, our continuing action item is to enhance the inspection program with newer technology. We're doing that with more real-time and better analytical technology that give us better data, more intelligent data, and we're expanding substation circuit breaker. We feel that is one key activity we need to focus on, and also increase the asset replacement targets. And just for a little preview here for 17-18 PSRP targets fiscal year. We're increasing the equipment replacement for transformer and poles and crossarm anywhere from 14 to 40%. That's our target. We put charge in front of our folks, and that's the conclusion. Thank you.
I wanted to add one other thing with capital expenditures, in that it's not unusual throughout the utility, power, or water industry to have some 15% sounds like kind of a wide fluctuation, and it isn't. It is not unusual to have sometimes 20 and 25% fluctuations, in that if you plan, a project is probably going to start in April, and because of some reasons, whatever, you find some design challenges or some other things that happens in July, that project that you plan for this fiscal year, while it's only 4 months delay, completely shifts into a different fiscal year, and that can throw all of your project budgets and your adherence to those budgets off. Now, you can kind of carry forward some budgets and things, but I wanted to really say if 15% is a good adherence level, and anything above that is really superlative compared to the industry, because again, you plan a project, but you don't know what's going to be underground if you have to dig, or what sorts of challenges or sometimes delays might occur because you're having to obtain property you didn't think you had to obtain. So that's better than industry average, the 15%.
I believe this goes without saying, but I anticipate that our insurance providers are at least anticipating or holding that state mark for potential emergency situations.
I'm sorry, the state, I didn't hear that.
So I want to make sure that we're on par with our insurance representatives in case of a natural disaster. I want to make sure that our department is covered and at least protecting Angelenos from the money that we will need, not only statewide, but federally. I want to make sure that we are protecting our citizens.
Certainly. We have all sorts of different coverage, some self-insurance, some additional insurance. And we also, when there is a disaster or anything that we face challenges with, we go through an entire separate accounting and recording mode so that we have all of that information segregated for either insurance funds or for FEMA monies that we can obtain, so that to make sure we can get as much reimbursement that we possibly can for any issues that we face along the way.
Well, thank you. I think people will rest better tonight. Thank you.
Do we have any more questions that will allow people to rest better tonight? That was a good one. Any further questions, comments, compliments? Compliments are in order. Thank you.
Thank you.
We are moving to item 6C. Before we do that, I just want to take a point of personal privilege. I was out of the room when Jay Puklovets was honored. And before you disappear, I want to, I'm sure you've already gotten the compliments and gratitude of the other commissioners. Let me add mine to it. We're very proud of the work you've done, and we're sorry that it can't go on forever. We thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Presentation for amendments on two agreements for the North Highway Dam Seismic Improvement Project.
So in probably early March, we're going to be coming to your board with an amendment for both of these contracts, and they're going to be at the end of their contract life. So as to not put you in a position where you feel you have to vote that day, we thought we'd bring the item to you a couple meetings in advance, present the need for the amendments, and be able to allow you to think about it. If you have questions, let us either know today or in the intervening month. So I've got Susan Rogani, who is our Director of Water Engineering and Technical Services, to give the report.
And with me, Dr. Jean Ping Hu. He's directing our geotechnical staff, engineering staff. So basically, as Rich said, we're here to just talk about these two amendments that you'll be seeing in a couple months. This is basically to support the construction of a new dam, a North Highway Reservoir. And so, just in summary, it's going to be asking for additional 8 years plus $3.5 million. So we're going to take you through the background of what's happened to date and what you can expect seeing in the future with this particular project. So again, the background, we need to construct this new dam. And so we need to have these agreements to support the design and the environmental documentation for North Highway Dam. This project's objective, we talked a lot about resiliency. We want to make sure that the North Highway Dam, we need to ensure the seismic reliability of this particular dam, and so in event of an earthquake. So per DSOD, this dam is seismically vulnerable. So what we need to do is we have been operating the reservoir level at a lower elevation because we want to make sure it is safe to continue operating. That's per DSOD regulations. And so we also have had mandated to us when to start the construction of this new dam, and we're supposed to start construction in 2018. So it is safe as we're continuing to operate it, but we will be able to, when we get the new dam operated at its mandated level, which will give us additional storage. So just to see the project vicinity and aerial map, for those of you who have been up in the Owens Valley, you can't really see it. You see it a little bit at the corner of your eye as you're passing by 395. It is south of the Owens Lake, so if you go up there, you might try to look at the signs and you can see the water for North Highway. So that's just the two pictures just to give you where it is. Now, the next one is the project site map. And so that pretty much gives you the three components of this particular project. They're in different colors, so it's good. Cactus Flats Road is the first component of this particular project. That's going to be done internally by PCM Forces. That's going to be started actually at the end of this year. So we will realize our mandate of starting construction this year. The other two phases of the project, which is the LA Aqueduct realignment and the dam itself, that will be done by contract and will happen after the Cactus Flats Road is realigned. Just to give you an idea of how much earth that has to be moved to make this dam, actually it's 560,000 cubic yards. So what does that mean? It means 2 JFBs, the volume of 2 JFBs. So that's what's the earthwork that's required for these to make this dam. So very quickly, with the two agreements that you will see in a couple months, one is with Black & Veatch. They have actually supported the management, planning, and design, and will support, hopefully, the construction management of this project. The original duration was 8 years. We're asking for, again, an additional 8 years plus $3 million. The second agreement is for URS. They have done some preliminary geotechnical work as well as the environmental and archaeological services. Again, an 8-year extension with $500,000 additional fees for that. So why?
Very quickly.
Sure.
Very quickly, and just to abbreviate the summary, why is there an additional $850,000 being requested to the contract?
Actually, it's $3.5 million. It's pretty much for the support during construction, because typically when you have somebody do a design project, if there's questions that come up during the construction, you want to be able to have this designer there to be able to answer any questions during construction and such. So we're asking over the extension of 8 years an additional $3.5 million to try to cover those questions during that time.
So the contractors, both of the Black & Veatch and URS, have been on contract for 8 years, and in that 8 years they have designed and helped us get permits to construct a project. Now we're going to start construction, and we need to have them for the 8 years it's going to take to actually build the project. So the project was delayed in the start, and that's why we're asking for the additional.
Okay, but we're not voting on this today.
You're
right?
not voting on it today.
And just for the record, I think most people on this board and within the department know that I'm one of the people that stays up late reading documents. I called Secretary Moskos this morning stating that I did not receive my flash drive, which usually arrives on Friday. So she sent me the agenda at 6 a.m. and I quickly reviewed it, but I appreciate you making this presentation so I can learn more about it.
I would like to just interject, there's a lot of years involved. This project's been on the books for a long time, and it's one of the things that's
We
been...
toured it together, right?
Yeah.
I believe we did.
Yeah, and it's been, pushed down for a number of reasons. There was Mojave ground squirrel issues. There was the actual location of the dam on BLM property where the abutments are. There's been just delays and budget constraints. So Susan's committed that she's really to move this ahead, but planning to do this started a long time ago. So that's why you see these long contracts. It didn't take this long to get there. It took us this long to get there. And so we've had these people engage with us. We need to keep them engaged with us through the project construction. So that's the reason you see these long time periods and why we need so much more. We never intended it to take this long when we first started the project.
All right. Well, again, once again, I apologize for not having the data with me, but I appreciate the presentation, and of course, I'll read it in detail. And I know that you always are very diligent about the projects you take on, so I look forward to reading about it in more detail.
Okay, thank you. So this pretty much says, okay, why we would like to have the extension. It's pretty much, it's Black and Beach and URS, and they have the experience of working on this particular project for the past 8 years. They also hold the engineer of record for the geotech for the dam, so that's very important. So we'd like to have them continue with us during the construction of this project. It will prevent any disruptions to the projects and to allow us to meet the project milestones. So just for the next slide, it's like, okay, just to explain a little bit. So Marty had said, okay, what the schedule impacts are. So just a few of those. For instance, we're in an area where we had 2 endangered species, the desert tortoise and the Mojave ground squirrel. We need permits in order to do work in this area. We got the permits, but it took 2 years longer than expected. Also, in terms of the design, we needed additional time for the geotech investigations. There are additional subsurface soil investigations that had to be done, also a fault investigation that had to be done. Both of those took a year longer than expected. So all these are actually additive. They're sequential. I don't want to say delays, but it just took us that much longer to get them done. And at the end, this says 2 years. I think it's a little different in your package, but after you finish, of course, your design, you have your CEQA documentation. That took an additional 3 years. So you're talking about over 6 years longer than we had initially anticipated to get to this point. So that's why we're going forward to asking for the additional 8 years. And when you see the next slide, which gives you the project schedule, so we're pretty much almost complete with the design, but we need to go through bid and award, which we anticipate will start in the middle of this year. That's a 1.5 year process, plus the construction and post-construction work, anticipating for 5.5 years. Then, so when you take those two timeframes together, that's a 7-year timeframe. We added a year for unanticipated issues during construction. That's how we came up with the 8-year extension. So that's kind of it in a nutshell to try to explain where we've been and what we anticipate going forward for this project when you see it coming before you in March.
You have smoothed the way.
That was the idea. Thank
Well, we know you don't like being presented with something without some time to think about it, so that's why Rich did this.
We should establish this practice as often as we can. It's very helpful.
Sean Ping, what's the estimated cost for this project now?
For the dam, for the dam and the channel is about $93 million total.
How much?
$93 million.
$93 million, okay.
Well, we better make it seismically safe.
So well.
Questions, comments? Thank you.
Thank you.
We have 2 items. Let me do them in reverse order, seeing as we clearly have a quorum, even in the absence of Ada, which we will excuse you for a moment on item 30, and then in 20 seconds you can come back. Is there a motion to approve the resolution authorizing travel for Commissioner Vasquez to Rancho Mirage from January 10th to 11th, representing the department and the board at the Southern California Energy, Water, and Green Living Summit?
So moved.
That's a motion and a second. Those in favor?
Aye.
It's approved. You can come back. Okay. Okay, so item 20, sustainability energy efficiency savings for energy cost adjustment calculation. This must be Mr. Jaco.
If I may, I had asked for this for discussion. I would like a presentation from David Jaco, because I read this, but it's confusing. And it's like, you know, one paragraph says we're having less, another says you're having more. So I need you, David, to kind of put it all together for me. It's a little counterintuitive.
Okay. Happy to. Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm David Jaco, Director of Efficiency Solutions. With me is Bernice Barajas, who is a staffer that actually prepared the report that's part of the package. We do have a presentation that I believe will address your questions. Just a little bit of background on what this is. It is a statutory requirement by ordinance that the board approves the cumulative energy savings, which is the fiscal year and previous years that are still active, that are used in the energy cost adjustment factor, which is for calculating the revenue loss. But to address your concerns, Commissioner Barad, a little bit of background on how the energy efficiency programs provide multiple benefits to our customers, but also to us. They obviously help participating customers reduce their electric bills, sometimes substantially. They reduce electric load on the grid, and they are the least cost source of generation. The kilowatt hours that we don't need to generate are cheaper than the kilowatt hours that we do. And so that reduced energy use, in turn, results in reduced revenue. And that's what the cost adjustment factor is here to correct. And it's also known as decoupling. Decoupling means that the revenue is being decoupled from the retail. In other words, we're selling less because of energy efficiency, but we still have a revenue requirement because we have fixed costs in the system. We have savings in terms of reduced fuel costs, but there are fixed costs across the infrastructure. And so the energy cost adjustment factor is what does this. It's a utility industry best practice. The IOUs have been doing it for a long time, as directed by their regulators, the California Public Utilities Commission. DWP adopted decoupling as an industry best practice in 2012 and was the first POU to do so. We were roundly congratulated for doing that. What it essentially does is it really provides an incentive for the utility to promote energy efficiency because it eliminates that revenue loss issue.
Let me ask you this, because I think that our audience at large is going to ask this question. Through this mechanism, are we providing and paying for the subsidies that we're providing to become more electrical efficient, or is this gain going towards the transfer tax? Or is it a combination of both?
Well, the transfer is a different issue, and I'll let.
Yes. So it's a great question. As I think very eloquently put, you know, the decoupling mechanism we have and the energy cost adjustment factor were put into place so that as a utility, as a company, we can incentivize energy efficiency and demand response while not having or realizing a negative fiscal impact to our bottom line. As you know, we have our board approves our key financial metrics, which are looked at very closely by the rating agencies. And our ability to meet those financial metrics, it's really greatly assisted by having the decoupling mechanism and the pass-through adjustment factors. When it comes to the city transfer, I would say the surplus revenue transfer, as it's characterized, there really isn't an impact on that by this. This is really just the ability for the department to recover sufficient revenues so we can meet all of our fixed cost requirements and ensure that we have sufficient debt service coverage days of cash on hand, full obligation coverage and such, which are, again, looked at very closely by Fitch, Moody's, and Standard & Poor's. And I will say that the board's actions in 2016 approving both the water and power 5-year rate ordinances really put us in a much better place with the rating agencies, garnered us an improvement in our rating for one of the 3 agencies for power system, and then positive outlooks for the other 2. And as we go out now, or in the coming next couple of months, with some of our bonds, we're looking at hopefully realizing further upgrades. And again, I would really strongly recommend, as we go forward in the future, continuing to have the decoupling mechanisms and the ECA for those very reasons. Great for us as a department fiscally, but also really good for the environment and for really pushing forward with energy efficiency and demand response projects.
I hope that all of you recognize that my question was not that to be antagonistic, rather transparent. And I think people want that more than ever. So that was the purpose of my question.
If I could be a little bit even more blunt, this setup allows us to aggressively pursue energy and water efficiency efforts and reduction in use. This is completely hypothetical now, so I need to be very clear. If there was some conspiracy theorist that said, we want to maximize the revenues at DWP to look at a surplus revenue calculation, all that, this wouldn't be supported. So this wouldn't be in place because they'd want to maximize all of the revenue we could have. By having this, it helps us reduce our revenues, and it helps reduce customers' bills. So this process actually is beneficial and helpful in reducing customer bills. It reduces our revenue. A surplus calculation often looks at the revenue that you made. So this actually is completely a 180 from what somebody might want to put forward. Is this some way to increase something that goes to the city's general fund? It actually goes the opposite. It decreases any amount that would go.
Again, I don't want to get into a philosophical discussion. My question was not that to be antagonistic. It was to be transparent. And there may be the argument of why are we subsidizing these energy efficient programs. I think that you've done a great job to explain why they're meaningful in our lives as Angelinos. And so with that said, unless the other commissioners have questions or comments, please proceed.
May I add a little bit more to this? The adjustment mechanisms put in for the rate in the last round of rate adjustments stabilize the base rate revenue. So if we get unanticipated growth, the benefits of that unanticipated growth flow back to ratepayers. And if we conserve ahead of expectations, any shortfalls are captured, so it stabilizes what is taken, the total amount of dollars taken from the ratepayers. Am I misstating any of that?
No, you have correct.
Okay. So it is. The mechanisms work both ways, so that the dollar amount out of base rates is stabilized.
Thank you.
Okay. Were there any further questions?
Is there a motion?
I want to thank David very much.
Thank you.
I move. I
Second. Those in favor?
Aye. And I think as Commissioner Barak.
And there are none opposed. Go ahead.
I apologize. As Commissioner Barak explained, sometimes the verbose presentations can be confusing, even to somebody who's served on a board for many years, like all of us. That being said, I think it's more important than ever to be very, very transparent and to talk in user-friendly language to Angelinos, so that they understand what our investments are about. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
guys.
Thank you.
Council?
At this point, we will recess.
We didn't do items 8, 9, or 10.
Oh.
Or did I miss
Then
it?
we won't recess at this point.
Yes, you're correct. Okay. Power System Monthly Report, November.
2 reports on the power system in your packet. If you have questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
That covers 1 and 2, thank you. Cost impact of the proposed plan amendments to change the mortality table and interest rate used in calculation of retirement allowances and conversation to optional benefit amounts. This is for action at the January 23rd board meeting.
There are reports in your packet. If you'd like us to go over them, we can. But,
on both of these, right?
Yes.
Anybody want us to go over them?
I don't have questions because I served on the pension board for many years, and I know how thorough the entire board takes their decisions. So, given my experience, I feel compelled to make a motion to move this forward.
What?
Did I repeat myself? I served. There's not a voting. It's information. So the pension board knows what it's doing. They meet twice a month. The board is aligned with very, very savvy financial business people as well as retirees from the department. So even though, because I did not have my flashcard, I did not review the information in detail, I have faith that it's right, and I know how seriously this subcommittee takes itself.
Got it. Okay, good. Any more discussion on item 8B? Okay, item 9, discussion with neighborhood council representatives on any neighborhood council resolution or community impact statement filed with the city clerk which relate to any agenda item listed or being considered on this agenda for the Water and Power Board.
No community impact statements or formal positions were filed by any neighborhood councils on the items on today's agenda.
Item 10, approval of the minutes. Motion to approve the minutes of the regular board meeting of November 28th, 2017,
So moved.
at which all commissioners were present. Is there a second?
Second?
Those in favor?
Aye.
None opposed. Okay, Counselor, you're on now.
At this time, we will recess in a closed session to deal with the remaining items on agenda item 7. And in accordance with California Government Code Section 54957.1, we'll report any final actions taken therein.
Okay, we will do that.